right. I think we left off in verse 18 last week. 18. Would someone like to grab that?
What, 18?
Uh-huh.
The verse only?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just deal with this first and see what happens.
Then the Lord said to Joshua, stretch out the spear that is in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that was in his hand toward the city.
So what do you guys see here?
He's doing what Moses did, stretching out his hands.
Yeah, it's
Stretching out
kind of like Moses did, isn't it? Yeah, well, he's one of the ones that come like unto Moses, but Jesus is the ultimate one that we're looking for to come like Moses. That's a good one. Okay. What else?
Well, he's doing what he's told.
Okay.
Yeah. Obedience.
Which is where we all should be, right? Okay. Anything?
Is a javelin like a spear?
Yep. Javelin, spear, that word is kidon. And it means dart, or spear, or javelin. And one of the things that you do with those is try to hit the mark, right? Guess what? We all miss the mark. Jesus is the one that hits the mark. And I think that's why that's in there. It's a picture of sin. He doesn't have sin. He is the one that is allowed, that he can be qualified to capture I. He can be qualified to capture the law and fulfill that because he's the only one that has not broken. So, 19 and 20. I'd like to grab that.
As soon as he did this, the men in the ambush rose quickly from their position and rushed forward. They entered the city and captured it quickly, set it on fire. Then men of Ai looked back and saw the smoke of the city rising up into the sky, but they had no chance to escape in any direction. The Israelites who had been fleeing towards the wilderness had turned back against their pursuers.
Okay. So what do you guys see here?
The trap.
Okay.
So,
They fell for it.
Well, their ego trapped them into that.
Okay.
Yeah, Israel basically put them in a position where they couldn't tell which way to go. If they went back to fight the people that were in the city, that left them turning their back on the Israelites who were in front of them. Or if they fought the Israelites in front of them, they had the city being destroyed and the Israelites in the city at their back there. So no matter which way they turned, they were in a position of being destroyed.
Is that a
This
road
is-
go down between the valley or down the creek?
It's a road. And this is where, when you're reading the scriptures, I think this is where they said Joshua and his 5,000 was down in the deep valley. See how this is real steep on this side? And Ai is right up here. See the road? I think that's Ai right there. So I think what happened is, by the scriptures, what I'm reading is you had 30,000 and you had 5,000. The 30,000 went, see, I had pictures on here last week that I don't have today. I don't know, I gotta keep going back and forth. So sorry. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for. There was a hill just north of it. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna have to deal with what I got. Okay, there was a hill that went this way, a mountain. So these guys can come over here and they can look over the mountain and see Ai. And they can see Joshua and 5,000 come up here. And Ai can see them down there in this little valley. And then they went out and chased them. And that's when these guys saw and they went down and took Ai. Okay. When you're reading the scripture, it says that the 30,000 went all the way between Ai and Bethel, was right here on this hill. I think they just spread out through here, and then those that were with Joshua went up here. So that's how I see it playing out. How many people were with Joshua? 5,000. And what's 5 come to mind? Number of grace. Okay, times 1,000. 1,000 is a completion of time. It means complete. Just keep that in mind. Kind of like when you complete a millennium. I mean, it's complete. Okay. So grace times is 5, and this is complete. And notice that these 5,000 is with Joshua, but the 30,000 is at a distance. They're going to come down and take Ai. Okay. All right. So let's. You guys see anything else in here? All right. Anybody grab 21?
I got it.
Okay.
And when Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, then they turned again and slew the men of Ai.
Okay. You guys see here? So these guys that were with Joshua, they actually turned around and faced them and was going to start taking them. And that's when they looked back and saw that their city had been taken. It's
If
done.
they're leading the men of Ai away from the city, then when they actually turned to fight, they could see the city burning.
Yep. Yep.
So Joshua, by leading them out of the city, they left the city wide open.
Left it wide open to be conquered.
Well, the people I thought, okay, they did this before, chased them off, we'll do it again.
Yep. All right, verse 22.
I got it. And the other issued out of the city against them, so they were in the midst of Israel, some on this side and some on that side, and they smote them, so that they let none of them remain or escape.
Okay, so the ones that went into the city and burned it, now you got to remember, this is 30,000 people, and that city is not a big city. I mean, you can see it up there, how big it is. I don't even know that you can fit 30,000 people in that city. I mean, it is, I think 2 miles, not 2 miles,
So what does that mean?
like 2 blocks or something, huh?
What does that mean? There are 30,000 can't fit in that possible space. Is there some kind of a mistake with that, or?
Of course, there's no mistake with the Bible, right?
Wouldn't some of them be running in to grab the cattle and bleeding them out because they were allowed the spoils?
Yeah, they were allowed the spoils. Here's what I think
Because they
is
said take
going
the
on.
cattle, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they did. Yeah, I just imagine yourself, 30,000 people just swarming in on a place. Boom. Okay, and this is inside a wall. So as soon as these guys come in, they're just in and slaying whatever has to be slayed, light a fire, and by that time they can come out. It wouldn't have taken no time. It would have took a matter of minutes.
Or less.
Yeah. I mean, you just think about it. As soon as you come in, there's nobody there to fight you, women and children and animals. Okay,
A good picture I kind of look at is like piranhas. But once they get sunk in the water, it's gone.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, just keep that picture in mind as to what's going on here. So you got these guys that are out, that let them away, and then they turned around, they went in. Actually, they let them away. They turned they went into the city, and then when they went into the city and conquered it and the smoke came up, they turned around and started fighting, and they realized that we're done. So these guys, once they're done, in a matter of minutes, they come out and help with the rest of Israel and who were with Joshua. Okay. Anything else you see in here? All right, 23, 24. But the king of Ai they took alive and brought him near to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the open wilderness where they pursued them, and all of them very last had fallen by the edge of the sword, all Israel returned to Ai and struck it down with the edge of the sword. So after they were done taking all the inhabitants of Ai, they turned around and went back to the city and went ahead and finished doing what they were supposed to do. I think this is probably the time when they went ahead and took the plunder of the city. I don't think they lit the whole thing on fire and set it all ablaze before they left. I think it was just a portion of it just to let them know you've been taken. That way they can come back and take the rest. Okay. When you're out in the open wilderness, you got nothing to hide behind. You got no trees, you got no caves, you got nothing you hide behind. You're out in the open against your enemies. So they were surrounded. And they fall by the edge of the sword. Edge of the sword. Something always comes to my mind when edge of the sword. It's another picture. I mean, what do you guys see?
Revelation,
Revelation, what?
with the sword of his mouth will strike everybody dead.
Okay, the two witnesses. Actually, that's probably a good tie-in because I think part of the two witnesses picture is the two testaments of God's Word. God's Word is a double-edged sword. And I think there's a picture going on there. The word here is Herev, and it comes from Harav, and it means a dry place, to be dry, but it's got the same spelling as Horeb. Mount Horeb is where God gave his word, the law. Okay, you see how these are tying together? Okay. And I think this is a spiritual picture that God conquered by his word. And who is the word?
Jesus.
Jesus. Okay. All right. 25. Anybody got that?
A total of 12,000 men and women fell that day. All the people of Ai, all the people of Ai.
Okay. 12 is the number of governmental perfection. And 1,000 is a conclusion, a completeness, an ending to. So I think there's something going on there with that picture. Perfection of divine governmental order, completeness. All right, 26. 26. Who's got 26? Yeah.
Joshua did not draw back the hand that held his battle lands until he devoted them to destruction. All who lived in Ai. Let me read it again. Joshua did not draw back the hand that held his battle lands until he had devoted destruction to all who lived in Ai.
Okay. Kind of sounds like Moses again, doesn't it? He lifted up and he didn't pull it down until they started going across. Okay. And in this verse, you're not going to see it unless you look it up in Hebrew, but it says Joshua is the one basically that did all this. It says Joshua, singular, is credited to him, not all the Israelites. It's like they did it, but they're not even getting credit for it, okay? Joshua is the one that conquered Ai. Jesus is the one that conquered the law, right? Okay? He didn't draw back his hand until all was accomplished. 27.
Only the cattle and the spoil of that city Israel took for a prey unto themselves, according unto the word of the Lord, which he commanded Joshua.
Okay, that's unlike Jericho, right? Jericho isn't could take nothing.
That's
Here you-
trouble at Jericho for taking something.
They did. They got in trouble for taking something that was devoted to destruction. Okay? In Deuteronomy 7, 25 to 26, it says, the carved images of God you shall burn with fire. You shall not covet the silver or gold that is on them, or take it for yourself, lest you be enslaved by it, for it is an abomination to the Lord your God. And you shall not bring an abominable thing into your house and become devoted to destruction like it. Harem. You shall utterly detest and abhor it, for it is devoted to destruction. So, whatever is devoted to destruction, you are not supposed to take for yourself. It's going to be destroyed. If you take it, guess who's going to get destroyed? You along with it. Okay. 28. So Joshua burned Ai and made it forever a heap of ruins to this day. This is probably where the name came from, Ai. It probably wasn't even named Ai when they got there, but because it's now a heap of ruins, which is what means Ai means, this is probably where the name comes from. Okay. You know, this is kind of like us when we come name stuff. We don't name it immediately. We kind of look and see what type of characteristics it takes on. It's kind of like having CB handles at work. You better get your CB handle early, because if you don't, you're going to do something stupid and you're going to get a CB handle you don't like. So, you usually name something after the fact. I remember when I used to hunt, I used to have tree stands all over the property that I had. And in order to tell your friends where you're going, you kind of need to have some type of system as to where you're going. So each one had a name. You know, I had one down by a trailer, that's the trailer stand. We had one that sat way up on the highest part of the property, and it was 2 or 25 foot tall at the platform, so you can get up there and you can see the whole property almost. You know, just down below the hills you could. So that was called the tower. And I mean, each,
Right.
you know, I had one that had like 7 bucks come out in front of it one time and play around. Well, that's buck fever. So they all take on names as to what happened with them, and that's what's going on here. Okay. 29. Anybody got that? Okay.
He hung the king of Ai on a tree until evening, and sunset and at sunset Joshua commanded that they take down the body from the tree and throw it down on the entrance of the city gate. And over it they raised a large pile of rocks, which remains to this day.
Now, is that weird or what?
That reminds me of Judas, but I don't know why.
Judas?
Yeah.
Why does that remind you of Judas?
Because he got hung from a tree, which is kind of my person.
Ah, okay. All right, he hung himself from a tree, didn't he? Okay. Who else does that sound like?
Jesus.
Sounds like Jesus, doesn't it? Yeah. Wow. Okay. And he hangs the king of the ruins. And ruins is a picture of the law, Jesus conquering the law. on, what does your Bible say? Where do they hang him on?
The tree.
What tree?
It doesn't say mine, but
A tree?
it says
Just a tree.
All of your verses say a tree. In Hebrew, the definite article, the, is there, and that's important because that's showing you this is pointing to something else when Jesus would be hung on the tree.
Mike said he tree.
Okay? Yeah, it should say, according to Hebrew, the tree. Hung him on the tree. Not just any tree, the tree. This is pointing to Jesus. And you can see this right here. Okay? And at sunset, Joshua commanded, and they took down the body from the tree. Huh. Isn't that what happened to Jesus? At sunset? Exactly. Okay? Someone read Matthew 23, 37 to 39.
37 to 39.
Uh-huh.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered the children together, even as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Look at that. He tells them that your house is left to you desolate, Jerusalem. And what happened? They got destroyed, didn't it? Not one stone was laid upon another would be not thrown down. That's what happened. Okay. Jesus became a curse. There's a verse. Let's go to Deuteronomy 21, 22 to 23 and read that, because this plays into this also.
Deuteronomy what?
Deuteronomy 21, 22, 23.
And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance.
So what do you guys see here?
Yeah, according to the law.
That was Deuteronomy what?
21, 22 to 23. So did Jesus do, if this is a picture of Jesus, did he do anything to deserve death? No, but he was hung on a tree, wasn't he? So he became the curse. He became the curse that we deserved. And he took our punishment for us. Okay. So it says that you shall take this person down when?
Sundown.
Before sundown. Put him in a grave, and what are you gonna do with him?
Covered up with a pile of rocks.
Big old pile of rocks. And it says a great heap. Guess where that's tied to? Would someone read Mark 16, 1 to 4?
I got it.
Okay.
When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Solomon brought spices so he could go and anoint the body of Jesus. Very early, the first day of the week, excuse me, They, the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they went into the tomb. They were asking one another who will roll away the stone for the entrance of the tomb. But then they looked up and they saw that the stone has been rolled away, even though it was extremely large.
See where it's tied to? The stone was extremely large. You got a bunch of heap of stones over here at I. So then you got, and they were great. It was a great heap of stones. Then when you bury Jesus, who's going to roll away the stone? For it was very great. The stone. Okay. This word also, this heap of stones, gets changed, not fratel, which is a heap or a mound or a hill, but it's Gal. You remember Gilgal means roll away. You roll away the sins all the way back to Adam. The water's backed all the way up to that in Jordan River. See how all these things are just stacking on each other like pictures? Okay. Even in the New Testament, they're showing you with these, for the stone was very large, they're showing you that these things are being fulfilled by Christ. Okay. Hebrews 13 and 14 says, therefore let us go outside the camp and bear the reproach he endured. For here we have no lasting city, but we seek the city that is to come. You know, Paul even talks about this. I'll review this here at the end in Galatians 4. But notice what's going on here. The king of Ai, was placed on the tree. He was taken down before sundown, placed in the city gate. Okay, that's the threshold of the city. You can't go through the city without stepping on him now. And he put a big heap of stones there. Well, if this picture's Christ, look at what that picture's.
You can't cross over until you
Come through Christ.
Right,
Yeah.
it's only one way.
It's only, yeah. For the people that are inside under law, you got to come through Christ to get freedom. For us to go through Bethel, the house of God, we still need to come through Christ. Either way, we've got to come through Christ, no matter which direction you go. And guess what? When I was doing my research on when they found I and was digging it up and everything, the guy said, there's no body we see in the gate. You know, there's supposed to be the king of Ai laid there, right? We don't see anything. Guess what? When the stone was rolled away, what did they find in the tomb? Nobody. I wonder if that isn't God just symbolically working that out, that Ai's body's not going to be found either. Because that's one of the things I was thinking this whole thing. Man, if this is Ai, there's going to be some bones or something there in a dry, arid place, you know. He said they didn't find any yet. So, anyway. I had a picture on here, and I don't know where it's at, but it got disappeared on me again too. But you look at the eastern gate of the temple. What's significant about that?
To the east.
It's to the east. It's pointing east. Can you enter that gate? It's blocked off. They got it all blocked up. The eastern gate is here. You guys have seen that, right? You know.
I've heard.
Okay, well, let me pull it up then. And I'll show you. If I had a picture on here, and I don't know why I don't have it right now. Alright, there's the eastern gate. It's blocked off. And I think God symbolically worked that out too as another picture, You know, Ai was blocked. You had a heap of stones there you couldn't get through. And the tomb had a big stone in front of it. And here I think this is kind of symbolically pictures that. You know, people inside are under law doing the sacrifices and stuff, but the people outside are free. Okay? So, let me review this and show you what we've learned so far. All the way back in Joshua 7, you know, they tried to take the city and they couldn't do it. They didn't ask the Lord. They told Joshua, well, we're going to do it with 3,000. We'll just go ahead and do that. Joshua didn't go with them. So they couldn't do it on their own. So they lost. And they flee. So then they go back and God tells Joshua, I've given the city into your hand. God told Jesus that all that, and he even said that all that my Father gives me, I will accomplish. Okay? Now, there's another picture going on here that in Eden, they're cast out east. Here in Bethel, Ai is east of Bethel, the house of God. And in the temple, like what Bob just brought up, east, the eastern gate, everything goes east. So you go away from God going east, but you turn around, you go west. Okay? And Ai pictures the law that keeps us separated from God. We can't keep it, but Jesus can. Okay? We can't do it ourselves, and we have to rely on what He has done. And it said that Joshua alone prevailed over this, even though the Israelites did a lot of the work. Jesus alone is the only one that can fulfill the law. Okay? 30,000 waited up north behind that hill until the 5,000 came in, grace, and then they came down, took the law. You know, I think that's a picture of Israel, you know, that's still under law. But they're eventually going to come out to Joshua and the people that were 5,000 in grace, and they're going to have success also. Okay. I also think that this could be picturing the Old Testament saints, because within the words, you wait for the right moment for all this to be fulfilled. And that's what Abraham and David and all these people were doing in Abraham's bosom, waiting for the right moment when Jesus conquered all of this, and then they came out. And if you read in Matthew 27, 52 and 53, it says the tombs were broke open and the bodies of many saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And Jesus, after Jesus' resurrection, when they came out of the tombs, they entered the holy city and appeared to many people. I believe that's pictured in this story also. Okay. And Galatians 4:4-5 says, in the fullness of time all this happened. All right. And I showed you on the picture that they camped north. And you had the 30,000 that were looking down over the hill, while the 5,000 were from that deep part and came across. It's kind of pictures to me, you know that story how when you witness to someone come up with this idea, he's drawn on a napkin and he was explaining the gospel to somebody and says, you know, you've sinned and you want to get to heaven, but you can't. There's this great chasm in between you because you're a sinner and God. But Jesus Christ, and He come down and He put a cross in between the two chasms and made a bridge across that big chasm. That's what I kind of see pictured here. Joshua was down in that valley. Okay. Joshua stretched out his hand. When he stretched out his hand, he prevailed. And did not take them down until it was finished. Jesus Christ said, it is finished. Okay. And in the scriptures, it tells you that Joshua spent the night in the valley. Jesus spent the night in the earth, didn't he? Okay. And we've also talked about Horeb, the law, where the word was given and everything. That's all a picture going on there. And 12,000 of these people who were under the law died. Okay. I really want to take that 12,000 times 12 and make it 144 for some reason, but I can't explain the typology there yet. Unless God's timesing it by, anyway. Joshua burned the city down and made it a heap of ruins forever. That's what Jesus did with the law. Okay, the king was taken and hung on the tree until evening, and then buried at the entrance to the city under a great heap of stones. Jesus Christ was hung on the tree and buried. And I think it was in front of the city. I think it was on the Mount of Olives. And you have to go through him to get to Jerusalem. Okay? And he was buried in order to fulfill Deuteronomy 21, that the land would not be defiled. Well, Jesus also is going to redeem the land, right? He's going to give it back to the Israelites. That's part of what he's here for. They have an inheritance coming to them. And just like the firstborn who redeems, he redeems your land too. Think of Ruth and Naomi. Think of the kinsman redeemer. He redeems you and your land back. Well, if Jesus would have hung beyond the day, it would have been cursed, wouldn't it? Would have been defiled, the land. Okay? And he was buried, and this picture is that he's blocking directions both ways, like Chet was saying. Okay? You got to come through Christ either way you go. Let me end with two scriptures. Colossians 2:13-14 says, "And you were dead in your trespasses and sins and uncircumcision of your flesh. God made alive together with him, having forgiven all trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. He set it aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame by triumphing over them in him." I think you can see this picture now. Okay? And Galatians 4:21-26, it says, "Tell me, you who desire to be under the law, do you not listen to the law? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by a slave woman, one by a free woman. But the son of the slave was born according to the flesh, while the son of the free woman was born through promise. Now this may be interpreted allegorically. These women are two covenants. One is from Mount Sinai, bearing children for slavery. She's Hagar. Now Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. She corresponds to the present Jerusalem, for she is in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem above is free, and she is our mother."
Isn't that where the Muslims come from
Hagar?
Hagar?
Yep, and Ishmael. Yeah, Ishmael, Hagar. Yep. This was amazing. I saw a lot of typology in here. What do you guys have to add to this? Any input you guys saw?
Well, I look at verse 21, and the only thing I can help but think of is when the smoke of the city ascended, that Jesus ascended from earth to heaven.
Okay.
And,
Wow. I didn't see that. Good.
it's all about ascending.
Yep.
And it's also brought up in verse 20 also. You know,
Twice.
yeah. So when something happens twice, there's a reason why.
Yeah, see, I didn't even pick up on that. Okay. Very good. Anything else?